During Temujin's early teens, three men carved themselves into his memory. A childhood friend who swore to be his brother, a real brother he murdered, and a poor stranger who risked everything to set him free. This is the continuation of the part of the story where Temujin learns, very young, that blood ties are not the same thing as loyalty. Imagine winters by the Onon River. The water's frozen solid, the ice a playing field for the kids. Two boys meet here. One is Temujin, the other is a slightly older boy named Jamukha. Their families camp near each other in winters. They race horses over snow, they wrestle and play on the ice, they practice shooting from horsebacks with little bows. Both boys carry the same wound. They've lost their fathers early. Jamukha's story is a bit rougher. He loses his mother too, and grows up in his grandfather's household, who had many wives, surrounded by old people and no siblings. Jamukha wasn't deprived of resources the way Temujin was, but there may have been an emotional deprivation from losing all of his immediate family. A few generations back, both boys traced their ancestry to the same woman, who herself had been kidnapped. One line, through the child she was already carrying, becomes Jamukha. The other, through the child she has with her new kidnapper, becomes Temujin. In Mongol terms, the boys come from the same womb, distant kin by blood, but they want to be more than that. When Temujin is about 11, they make a decision. They swear an oath to become Andas. An Anda is not just a normal friend, it's a chosen brother, a bond that in theory is even stronger than blood because you pick it. The first time, they swear like children. They exchange toys as a symbol of their oath. The next year, they upgrade the ritual. Now they have real weapons. Jamukha takes the horn from a 2-year-old calf, carves it, drills a hole through it, and turns it into a whistling arrowhead, the kind Mongol hunters use to signal across distance or to drive animals toward themselves by shooting it in the opposite direction. This time, they swap arrowheads. They even drink a drop of each other's blood, sharing a part of their very souls. Jamukha was the only Anda Temujin had in his life. Keep that in mind, because later in the story, this bond becomes both his biggest asset and his biggest problem. If Jamukha is brother by choice, Bektar is brother by birth. But he feels very different. Bektar is the first child of Suchagil, Yasuge's first wife, and after Yasuge's death, he is the eldest male in the family, on the step that gives him enormous power. Under the Mongol family law, in the absence of the father, the eldest son is the father. He gives orders, he distributes work, and his word cannot be defied. There's another layer. In that culture, if your father dies and none of your uncles marry your mother, one potential solution is that an old enough half-brother can marry her. This means that in a few years, Bektar is not only Temujin's older brother, he might also become his stepfather and the formal head of the family. You can imagine how that feels if you're Temujin. It starts as small humiliations. Temujin shoots a little bird, Bektar takes it. Temujin catches a fish in the Onon, Bektar snatches that too. Temujin won't tolerate this for long. One day, after yet another incident, he and his full brother Khasar go to their mother Erlun, expecting her to back them up. But she doesn't. She tells them to stop fighting Bektar and focus their anger on the Taijid, the clan that had abandoned their family to starve. She then tells them a famous story about a widowed ancestress who had more children after her husband's death while living with an adopted son. The message was clear. When Bektar is old enough, I will accept him as my husband and he will be the head of this family in every sense. For Erlun, this was a survival calculation. For Temujin, this was a future he cannot accept. And he won't. After this conversation, Temujin snaps. He throws aside the felt covering over the doorway and storms out, a highly offensive gesture in Mongol culture. Khasar follows him. They find Bektar sitting on a low knoll overlooking the steppes. The two sons of Erlun have made their decision to murder Bektar. Temujin asks Khasar to circle around to the front, as he's the best shot in the family. He himself climbs up the back, using the grass as their cover, as if they are stalking a deer. When they are close enough, they stand up with their bows drawn. Bektar doesn't run, or scream, or beg. He tells them that your real enemies are the Taichur, not me. He then repeats a line that will haunt Temujin for years to come. I'm not the lash in your eye, nor the blockage in your mouth. Without me, you will have no companion but your own shadow. He makes one request, spare his younger full brother, Belgotai. He then sits cross-legged and refuses to show fear to his younger brothers. Temujin and Khasar lose their arrows, one from the front, one from the behind. They don't go near the body. Touching blood is prohibited, and they never return to that spot again. When they walk back to the camp, Alun takes one look at them and knows exactly what they have done. Her reaction is pure rage. She calls Temujin a destroyer and throws his birth omen back in his face, that he came out clutching a blood clot in his fist. She then repeats Bekte's line as if it were a curse. From now on, you will have no companion except your own shadow. And she's right about one thing. From this point on, Temujin is not just an outcast, he's a criminal. Killing Bekte gives the local elite, the Taichuid, a perfect excuse to hunt him down. The Taichuid see their chance. They send a party of warriors to punish Temujin. With no trees, no cities, no hiding places, the open steppe is the worst possible landscape for someone on the run. Temujin tries to escape towards the mountains, but they catch him. They don't kill him, but instead strap him into a kang. Imagine a huge wooden yoke like you would see on an ox. His head and hands are trapped in it. He can shuffle around, but he cannot feed himself. Every day, a different family in the Taichuid camp is told to take him in, feed him, and keep an eye on him. But the poor households at the bottom of their camp, the war captives, servant families, people with nothing, react differently. In one gear, an old woman cleans the raw wounds on his neck where the Kang has rubbed his skin open. Her grandchildren beg their father to remove the Kang so Temujin can sleep at night. Imagine what that must feel like. You are being enslaved and humiliated by your own aristocratic kin and shown kindness by people who don't owe you anything. And then one night, he sees his chance. The Taichuid men are drunk, the mood in the camp is relaxed. Temujin is assigned that night to a particularly weak and simple-minded boy. He whips the heavy Kang around, slams it into the boy's head, and knocks him out. The very object designed to break his will becomes the tool he uses to break free. This becomes an important lesson for him that he passes on to his warriors. Anything that moves is a weapon. Coming back to the story, he then very shrewdly runs for the river. It's dark, the water's freezing, he still has this massive wooden yoke around his neck and shoulders, but he wades in anyway. He hides among the reeds, ducking under the surface whenever searchers get close by, trying to breathe quietly as torches and voices move up and down the bank. At some point, one of the Taichuid men spot him. It's the same old man from the poor servant family who had treated him kindly. This man now has a choice, either shout for the warriors and earn points with the chiefs or help this kid. He tells Temujin quietly to stay hidden until late night and then run. As search parties recede, Temujin leaves the river. But instead of sprinting straight off into the steppe, he does something even riskier. He walks straight to that man's tent. Imagine sitting inside when the door opens and a fugitive with a Kang around his neck walks into your gate. If anyone finds him there, your whole family could die. But they help him anyway. They saw through the Kang and burned the pieces in the fire. They hide Temujin under a pile of wool while search parties walk past outside. The next night, they slaughter a lamb for him, which is a big deal when you're poor, and they give him a horse. Then they send him out into the dark with food, a mount, and a real chance to survive. He rides alone back towards his mother's camp. Temujin must have had some charm in his manner for a family to not just risk their lives for him, but also give him the shirt off their backs. So what does all this do to him? Think about the 3 relationships we just saw. With Jamukha, he learns that sometimes a chosen bond can feel deeper than blood. With Bekte, he experiences how suffocating the old hierarchy can be, and he's willing to commit murder rather than live under it. With the poor Taichuid family, he discovers that sometimes strangers, people with no blood tied to you at all, are the ones who risk everything to save your life. His noble relatives first abandon his family and then enslave him. Anonymous nobodies at the bottom of the camp treat him like a son. That contrast gets burned into his brain. From here on, Temujin starts judging people less by who they are born as and more by what they actually do when it matters. For this step, it's a radical way to think. Later on, as Genghis Khan, he will build an entire empire over this logic. Loyalty over lineage, actions over ancestry. But for now, he's still just a teenage runaway, with his brother's blood on his conscience, his mother's curse in his ears, and the ghost weight of the Kang on his shoulders every time he looks over his back. We'll see what happens when this boy, who has killed, been enslaved, and escaped, sets off to reunite with his intended wife. Would she have waited for him? At 17 or 18, she's nearly past the age of marriage already. Would her father even allow her to marry a man who lives a life this dangerous? We'll find out in the next episodes.